Technique review video. So for these videos, I'm just going to pick out one or two things that are going to provide that person the most return. There's no sense in taking someone who needs to improve on 7-8 things and throwing the works at them. So I think breaking down the hierarchy of what's most important is good. Now we'll start off with a couple unique ones here. So first of all, this lift shows us that we can't deduce any real technique flaws unless the effort is close to a 9 out of 10. Something's got to start breaking down, because at this load, for example, there's a million ways that he could lift this, and we really don't know what's efficient and what's not when it's a super easy rep like this. Okay, so always evaluate your technique when you're at much higher intensities. Now, same guy here, and again, a bit of a unique one where not every video you look at requires technique feedback. Sometimes if you're plateauing and you're having challenges, you need to look more at your programming, how you're overloading, what kind of accessories you're using, and what cues you have in your head. Because objectively, this one looks quite good. I'll let it play through. The technique here is great. And I think over cueing is a huge issue, but hips stay down, close to the bar, chest is up. Bit of a wobble at the top, but that's just because you're close to your max there. So bar stays nice and close to you. I think your ceiling's quite high lifting like that, so well done there. All right. Now, competition deadlift, always good to go back to your competition deadlifts and take a look at them. Now, as this video plays through, I want you to take a look at shoulder positions, and I'll talk about exactly what that means now. So even before this pull gets off the ground, without a front-on video, it's impossible to be 100% sure, but it really looks like this left shoulder is in front of the right shoulder, and we'll see that carry through all the way to lockout. When this shoulder looks back, this shoulder looks rolled forward, left shoulder is higher than right shoulder, so there's a few things going on there. And really, if we were looking at this video from the side, I would assume that this bar is falling away from the left side of your body, and you're twisting as you lift up. Obviously, that's not ideal. And to solve that, you need to improve the tightness in the left lat. One way to do that could be to attach a light band to the left side of the barbell and have that attached to a power rack out in front of you so that the band is pulling forward on your left-hand side. And as you do your warm-up deadlifts, that's going to cue you to be squeezing that left lat, squeezing that bar into you. And if you squeeze the bar into you down here, that's going to solve your shoulder issue up there. All right, next one, another really good video in terms of technique. No real issue on the way up. Your positioning is much like a Olympic lifter. Like your shin angle is pretty far over the bar. Your torso is upright, but I really wouldn't change that at the moment. I think if you're powerlifting, you're going to settle into a little bit more of a torso angle somewhere in around the 30-degree mark instead of probably about a 55-degree mark that you're in there. But you maintain it off of the ground, which is always what the most important thing to see is. Looks like this left knee's collapsing a bit. We can't really see that. A video from the front would probably be helpful in this case. But on the way up, all in all, that looks quite good. Bar falls away a touch at your knee. You'd never like to see a shadow on your body. That means that there's obvious space between the bar and your body, and that's going to lead to an inefficiency. Your shoulders are over the bar too much, and so the bar is going to naturally tend to pendulum away from you. And so that can be a downfall of sitting too upright at the start, and your knees sort of get in the way, in essence. But the biggest thing that I see here is, I assume you're deadlifting at home and you have to be careful putting it down. Now we're twice as strong on average, twice as strong eccentrically, as in when muscles are lengthening, compared to concentrically. So there's no reason to lose your form on the way down, and it can be a really good practice, really good exercise to control that weight down with good form. And you see, on the way down, you adopt a very, very different position than on the way up. So now you've lost all of this tightness and tension. So in terms of the execution of the lift overall, the way up is looking pretty good. I would focus on the way down, working your way back down to that same position with the bar nice and close to you, with the hope that that starts to transfer over to your concentric lifts or when you're lifting the bar up and off the ground. All right, love this change up, dumbbell video. Dumbbell is definitely one of the most technical strongman movements, and it's really not something that I'm an expert in by any means. But there's a few things you do here that are kind of universal that you should try to improve. So first of all, the goal with the dumbbell is to get the weight of that dumbbell over, right over your center of mass. So if that dumbbell, if you were to disappear, you would, and just your shoes remained, you'd want that dumbbell to fall straight in between your shoes. So when we look at the position you're in when you go to press, you very much have that over to your right hand side, and see there's space between the dumbbell and your head. So then you're left to just try to balance that on your delt, and it's a huge object to try to use your delt alone to balance. And when you go to dip and press, you can see the dumbbell's wavering a little bit, and then you go to press that. When you press it, you're pressing it out away from you. Okay, you're trying to lock that out as though it's a single arm dumbbell press. So the first tip I would give you is when that dumbbell's on your shoulders, I want that right shoulder up as close to your ear as you could possibly get it, get as much tightness as possible, and then sit that on your trap rather than on your shoulder. Okay, one thing I love about this is the amount of extension you get from your ankles. That's going to go a really long way in making sure that that dumbbell execution is correct. I think you just need to shore up that the position on your shoulder. All right, now this is an example of a video where when you give advice, it has to be helpful, precise, and pointed at improving one thing at a time. So everything I have to say here is in the setup, and a couple of things wrong with the setup. First of all, you look at the angle of this arm, and it might be a 10-degree angle out from the shoulder down, where this arm is about a 30-degree out from the shoulder down, and you're positioned to the right-hand side of the barbell. The center of the barbell is here, almost beside your left foot. So I would make sure you're more centered to the bar, for one. And for two, I'd get these feet pointed straight ahead, because the issue that you're partially running into with your hands being too wide and too far away from each other, and your imbalance there, is that your forearms and your knees are competing for position. So long as your knees flare out like that, there's no way for your arms to be in a strong position. The goal is your arms should be very close to directly under your shoulders. So you should probably grab the very inside of the knurling, and then you'll be able to execute this much better. Okay, I would get the start position right. Like, the effort's awesome. I love seeing kids get in there at a younger age. But fix up that start position, and everything up chain, when you start moving, will start to take care of itself. All right, another really good video in terms of technique. This start position is perfect. It's really exactly what we're looking for. Torso about 25 degrees above parallel. Shoulders stacked right on top of the arms, so the bar is not going to tend to pendulum away. But what happens here, premature extension of the knees and your torso still tipped over. So now it's sort of like the end of a stiff leg deadlift. And the effect of that is that you can see your body is sort of on a forward lean here. So I can project forward and see if we chucked another 10 kilos onto the bar, you're not going to be able to get that very far past your knee, because you're pushed forward, and instead of the center of mass, instead of all your weight being around here on average, I would suspect it's out here over the balls of your feet. Now that's going to create a lot more work at your low back and hips, biomechanics that are not worth explaining, but the further forward the bar is, even if you lean forward and it's against your thighs, that still creates a lot of work that you shouldn't have to do. Okay, so in order to fix this a little bit, I would say just as you get that bar to your knees, keep them flexed a little bit and keep your torso a touch more upright when you're passing the barbell, or you're passing your knees with the barbell. next video. A couple more here. So this one, in the actual execution of the lift itself, from here upwards, we're looking okay. The only issue that I see is that the bar gets away from your touch. And it's not an uncommon thing at all. So first of all, I would make sure that that bar is sliding right up and down your track pants. But the biggest issue is that you start pulling from here. And the thing that I don't like to see is when your position, when you start to try to pull, to the position where the bar comes off the ground, if that changes much, then you're wasting a lot of energy in this position. There's also an injury risk component to that. But you start your position there, okay? Your torso is maybe 70 degrees above parallel. And when you lift off, that's a pretty good position, but your torso is 30 degrees above parallel, okay? So consider starting yourself in the position that you lift the bar off the ground, okay? You'll get a much better initial pull that way. And last one here, I'll let this one play through because it's a quick one. So we cannot deduce too much because, again, same as the first video, the intensity is just not high enough. You could do that weight in a lot of different ways. But the one thing I notice is, I'll put the volume right up, I want you to listen at the length of your breath before you do this. So it's literally the smallest. Okay, the goal of bracing is to put as much pressure through your stomach as possible. The way you do that is you contract your diaphragm, your stomach pushes out, you hold that, and then there's more pressure all throughout your stomach, and that helps to brace your core. When you take a small breath, there's no way for your diaphragm to brace, so really all you're doing is squeezing your core muscles. That's not near as effective as being able to brace really well. So I would go back, revisit your bracing. You should be taking a massive breath as you pull that off of the ground. That's going to allow you to create the most stiffness in your back. It's going to keep you as safe as possible. Injury risk will be as low as possible. And it's also going to eliminate that as a possible weak link in the chain. So that's what I have for you guys. I hope you enjoyed. Send over your videos. More than happy to take a look at them. Deadlifts, squats, monster dumbbells, log press, whatever you want. And I'll see you next time. Thanks a lot for watching.